Rangelands are very diverse. If you look across the world, we have rangelands that are in cold climates, we have rangelands in warmer climates, in drylands and more humid rangelands. So it's a very wide range of systems. But when we think about East Africa, for example in Kenya, they make up almost 80% of the land area. So just from that sort of point of view, they're very important. And they're obviously important as the home for people. So there's millions of people that rely on rangelands, so they rely on livestock and so on. Since many of them are drylands, many of them are also very prone to degradation, and they're very sensitive to changes in the climate, rainfall patterns, etc. So that makes them very vulnerable to climate change. So one of the really important things when we're developing predictive models and eventually maps is the quality of the data that we use to train the models that allow us to do those predictions. And so the LDSF, or the Land Degradation Surveillance Framework, is a framework that we started developing already 20 years ago, and that we've rolled out now and scaled across more than 40 countries in the tropics. And it allows us to systematically collect information on soil properties, land degradation status, biodiversity, and a number of other things. And so by having that consistency in the data that's collected, it means that when we use that data to develop models, predictive models and maps, the results are also high quality. When we use the LDSF to develop maps and do analysis, we want that analysis and the maps to speak to the context that we're looking at, right? So if we're looking at rangeland restoration, for example, we might have an area in the rangeland that's degraded and we're planning to restore it. We need indicators that are specifically relevant to that rangeland system. So if you were working in a different kind of system, say in an agricultural system, you might be using different indicators than what you would use in a rangeland system. So the important thing is to really contextualize the types of information, the data that we use, etc., so that we're addressing the problems that are on the ground. We want to make sure that the users of all these tools actually understand what these tools are doing, and we want to make sure that they're involved in the design process. So what we do, we don't develop tools ourselves. We co-design tools with different types of stakeholders. So all the tools we develop, we have whatever group we're working with. It could be an NGO, it could be a project of some sort, could be government. They have their own use cases, they have their own ways they want to use these tools. So we need to understand that first, and that's really critical. Then we know what the data is, we know what we have and what the limitations of those data sets are, but through that co-design process, we can tailor the tools to the needs of those stakeholders. And one of the reasons, of course, is that just the nature of rangelands and the people that live in the rangelands. Many of these are very, very large areas. People are quite mobile in many cases. It's not like you're working in a plot somewhere where you have very specific interventions. So we have to then tailor the tools and the ways, the things that people, in a way that people can use them across these large areas. So one way we do that is through the development of mobile apps. So the Regreening app is one in terms of citizen science data collection, but you can also think of other apps where you can use those to allow people to collect data, to receive information as they move about in their landscape. We have had in the past many large investments that have gone into rangelands and rangeland restoration without really having good information to base these interventions on, or the decisions we make about those interventions. So it's really critical to have good, solid data sets that we work from to decide what to restore, where to restore things, and also to work out the time aspects of that. How long will it take to restore this kind of system, so we have realistic expectations as well. And so that's really critical. And across the board, whether we're talking about restoring a degraded part of the landscape, or carbon projects, which has been a lot of talk about, of course, in rangelands as well, all of these types of projects need to build on strong data and strong evidence. But I think it's like the important thing is that all these things kind of go together. So it's not as if the Regreening app or the citizen science tools are one thing, a separate thing from, for example, the LDSF or from the predictive modeling. All these things go together. So basically, it allows us to leverage data from the LDSF to do the predictive modeling that we can then feed into the apps to generate recommendations for pastoralists or farmers. Right? So the data, basically closing that loop is what we're trying to do with all of this, right? So making sure that we have really systematic and solid data that we collect in the field to make sure that what we produce is high quality, but then also finding ways to get that information back to farmers and back to pastoralists.